Now that we've totally customized the checkout process, in this video I'm going to show you how you can process the information gathered in your custom checkout steps to process orders in the backend. Let's dive in. This order details page isn't showing us the ticket information for the Magento launch party that we purchased. So in order to process the ticket information and get it to show up on our order, we need to edit our product type and give it a get order options function. So get order options runs when the quote is being converted into an order, and basically this will allow us to preserve the additional options which we added custom to our quote items. So this part is pretty simple, but actually processing the event registration data is a little more advanced. So for that, we're going to start in our custom one-page checkout template. So the example checkout onepage.phtml file, we've added a JavaScript library for our event product types. So this is a new file I've created in the skin. And this is modeled after the one-page checkout functions, which you can see in the op-checkout.js file. So the op-checkout file contains the JavaScript which controls the user interface for the one-page checkout. You can see there's a checkout object, and then there's an object for each step. So billing has one, shipping has one, and so on and so forth. So all this is doing is kind of controlling the AJAX functionality of the one-page checkout. So in our own event.js, we're creating an event registration class which represents our step in the process of checking out. And we need to initialize some things like which URL is going to handle the save operation and how to proceed to the next step. So I kind of just borrowed this from one of these simple checkout steps and refactored certain parts of it to make it work for the event registration. So the next thing we need to do is make sure that our event registration form is properly set up. So our example checkout one-page event registration.phtml file, I've refactored my form element names into the structure that I desire. So I want this to submit essentially an array of ticket information, and it's going to track the item ID. This is the shopping cart item, the ticket ID, the event ID, and then the attendee information. So at the bottom of this file, I added a snippet of JavaScript. This is utilizing my event registration class that I just showed you. So creating this JavaScript object, initializing the form, this is all part of enabling an AJAX interface for this event registration form. Okay, so in the front end, I'm going to go ahead and reorder this Magento launch party event. So I'm buying a total of 4 tickets, and so when I proceed to check out, I should see my event registration step. Alright, I'm going to fill this out with some basic information. So with the JavaScript in place, when I click on continue, it's going to enable AJAX to process the request and forward me to the billing information. So what exactly happened in the background there? Well, I'll show you. So the URL that I've given to my event registration process is checkout one page save event. So what I did was, in my modules config, I added some front-end controllers for handling my AJAX checkout methods. So I'm using a router to kind of tap into the Mage checkout URL structure. Because you can see I'm still using a checkout one page URL. I'm just going to inject my own controller in the process. So my controller is located in the controllers checkout folder, and it's called one page controller. And I can actually extend from the Mage checkout one-page controller in order to gain access to functions like expirations for Ajax and getting the one-page checkout type model in order to get quotes and things like that. So in this function, I'm looping through each of the items, processing buy requests, and basically I'm injecting the registrant information that was submitted into the buy request. So on line 49, I'm logging what that buy requests look like so you can see. In system.log, when I process that form which is being submitted, I'm essentially injecting the registrant information into my ticket array. So the ticket array was previously just tracking the ticket ID as an index and then the quantity, and now I've added this portion here. So what this is going to allow me to do is once my order is finally placed and everything is paid for, I can process the registrant info and get everything saved into the database. So this is kind of like a mid-level or an intermediate step to getting everything saved properly into a registrant table. So to drive this home, the final thing I need to do is add an observer. This observer is observing the sales order place after event. And on sales order place after, I'm basically going to process that buy request with all of the ticket info. My observer is segmented into a sales.php file. And here you see I'm iterating over all the event items, retrieving the buy request, and for each ticket's registrant info, I'm saving that registrant to the database. So one thing I had to do in order to get the model to work properly is create a new SQL file, or rather update my original registrants table by adding event IDs and ticket IDs so that I can track these back to the proper events and tickets that were sold. Okay, so let's step through the entire checkout process. So once my order is placed, I should be able to see the information on the front end, and I can see the types of ticket that I ordered. And now let's verify that everything was saved in the back end. And it looks like we got the information in there all right. So let's recap. In order to process our order information, we took 3 steps. First, we added a getOrderOptions function to the product type model. This function gets run when an order is being placed. In the second step, we added additional JavaScript to the checkout steps so that we could save our registrant data via Ajax. We also had to tweak our config XML for our module a little bit so that we could add in the correct controller and router for intercepting that Ajax request. Finally, we observe the sales order place after event in our own custom observer so that we can process the registrant data that was injected into the info buy request. Coming up next, we'll be starting a new section focused on importing and exporting data in Magento, so stay tuned.